For years, this was what Manila Bay used to look like. On its shores, you could visibly see massive amounts of trash. This was especially true after every typhoon hit the city. It was dirty and obviously neglected. Simply put, it was an eyesore. But due to sheer political will, this is now what the famous bay looks like. With its powdery white sand, you'd think it's a beach from one of the country's famous resorts. The almost miraculous transformation of this bay has been hailed as a success on the world stage. To say that it shocked the world wouldn't be an overstatement. How did the former eyesore become a source of pride again for the country? To truly grasp how this transformation came to be, we have to know first the rich history of Manila Bay. The Manila Bay lies at the very heart of the Philippines' capital region. Hence, its role as a vital gateway to the nation's center of power and commerce can't be overlooked. With such a strategic location, it's no wonder that it's being considered as the best natural harbor of East Asia. Its orientation towards the South China Sea allows the country to benefit from the current trend of trans-boundary development and trade with the rest of Asia and the world. It spans nearly 1,994 square kilometers, almost twice the size of New York City. Its coastline is also massive, extending for around 190 kilometers. This famous bay is a silent witness to some of the major events that unfolded in the country. An example of this is the famous Battle of Manila Bay that happened in 1898. Here, Americans showed their full might against the Spanish Navy. Commodore George Dewey led the American ships. Years later, during World War II, the Japanese Army took control of Corregidor Island, which stands at the entrance of Manila Bay. When peace finally returned, the bay began to change. Filled with people once again. Restaurants and small shops started to open. Some of the most luxurious hotels rose along its coastline. As a testament to its affluence, it has been labeled as the Miami of the East. If there was one thing that this bay was famous for, it was the beautiful sunset. There was a time when visitors from nearby provinces and even other countries would come to Manila Bay just to witness it firsthand. Families would gather around, sharing food while waiting patiently for the majestic sun to set. But Manila Bay has become a victim of its own success. Its popularity soon led to its inevitable downfall. As a busy port, it receives waste from factories and cargo ships that dock along its shores. Major oil spills also happened within its waters. These spills and discharges have raised the levels of oil and grease in the water, making it increasingly polluted. The country's Fisheries Bureau found traces of heavy metals like copper, cadmium, and zinc in the bay's seabed. These substances reduce the amount of oxygen in the water, harming fish and other marine life. The bay that once became a lifeline for fisherfolks became like a curse that should be avoided at all costs. To illustrate just how it became worse, one study revealed that its contamination level reached between 5 to 8 million most probable numbers, or MPN, of coliform bacteria per 100 milliliters. To put that in perspective, safe swimming water should have only 100 MPN. That meant Manila Bay was millions of times more polluted than what's considered safe for humans. A lot of factors contributed to what the famous bay had become. For one, establishments near its vicinity were found dumping wastewater directly into Manila Bay. Poverty and overcrowding added to the crisis. As the city expanded, more people moved into makeshift homes along the bay, hoping to make a living near the water. Sadly, this only increased the amount of waste and sewage flowing into the sea. The dramatic change in Manila Bay can largely be credited to one man, former President Rodrigo Duterte. On January 27, 2019, he launched a massive cleanup campaign called the Battle for Manila Bay. While earlier administrations had tried similar projects, Duterte's strong push and determination finally turned words into real action. The first thing they did was build sewage treatment plants across major cities, especially in the national capital region. Strict rules were also enforced on nearby businesses, requiring them to build proper sewage systems to stop waste from reaching the bay. Those who ignored the directive faced immediate closure. To prevent trash from piling up again, desilting operations began in key rivers and estuaries, the small waterways that connect to Manila Bay. Heavy equipment dredged out years of built-up waste, while trash boats and floating barriers were used to catch debris before it could spread. But the heart of the effort came from the people themselves. Volunteers, students, soldiers, and local residents joined regular cleanup drives. The awareness among locals to protect the famous bay was at its highest. But among all the efforts, one project stood out the most. It even became a subject of national debates. Others viewed it as a positive direction towards transforming the famous bay, while some condemned it as something that's just for pure aesthetics rather than practicality. This was Dolomite Beach. The project started in 2020. After removing piles of trash from the 500-meter stretch of the baywalk between the Manila Yacht Club and the U.S. Embassy, workers began rebuilding the shoreline. They first spread 2 layers of regular sand, then added crushed dolomite on top. The goal was simple: to bring back the beauty of the area and boost tourism. The project came with a hefty price tag, 389 million pesos, or about $8 million. Did the government succeed in its vision? Definitely yes. The project caught the world's attention. What was once known as one of the most polluted bays in Asia suddenly became a symbol of transformation. Locals started flocking to the area, curious to see the new white sand with their own eyes. Families, joggers, and tourists filled the baywalk. For the first time in years, Manila Bay was no longer an eyesore. It became one of the most Instagrammable spots in the capital. Not only that, but even migratory birds were seen returning to the shores of the white sand beach. It was a clear sign that the cleanup was working and that life was slowly coming back to Manila Bay. But like any major project, it didn't come without controversy. Critics were quick to raise concerns, and their biggest issue was the very material used to transform the bay. So, what exactly is dolomite? Dolomite is a type of rock made of calcium and magnesium. It's tough and long-lasting, which is why it's often used in construction. It's found in bricks, cement, and concrete. Because it doesn't dissolve easily in rain or acidic soil, it stays intact for years. This makes it ideal for buildings. However, critics argue that it isn't always great for nature. They warned that dolomite can contain small traces of heavy metals like aluminum, lead, and mercury. These elements could make the water more toxic over time. Still, despite all the criticisms, one thing is undeniable. It's far better than seeing mountains of trash scattered along the shore. For the first time in a long while, the future of Manila Bay seemed brighter. For us personally, we deeply appreciate this kind of initiative. Any effort that breathes life back into nature, no matter how small or contested, is a victory we should all stand behind. In the end, the transformation of Manila Bay stands as proof that even the most neglected places can rise again. It shows that no matter how hopeless things may seem, change is always possible with enough will and persistence. Just look at this. From an ugly duckling to a beautiful princess. But what are your thoughts about this? We think that you'll love this next video. As always, see you on the next one.